Welcome to Fight Club 24/7. My name's Johnny Rashman. Right, let's get straight into it. We all heard the disappointing news that Tyson Fury had to pull out of his undisputed world heavyweight title fight, which was scheduled for 2 weeks' time on February the 17th against the great Alexander Usyk. Right, I wanted to wait a few hours before I gave an opinion on this. You know, it was very easy to talk in frustration, anger, disappointment, like a lot of fans are, and I get it, I understand it, but you have to talk, you have to let your head clear and try and understand what's going on, right? It's boxing, cuts happen. Let's be honest, you can be the biggest Tyson Fury fan, and I've always been a Tyson Fury fan. Yes, I've criticised certain things he's done the last 6 months and to the last year. And that's not hate, that's just me giving an opinion. Doesn't mean I'm not a fan of his, doesn't mean I don't support him. But are you surprised? The answer is no. You're not surprised. And the problem is with Tyson Fury, he's told that many contradictions in the past that he's lost credibility. And he won't care. Listen, Tyson, he don't care what anyone thinks, right? He's his own man. You know, he's got millions in the bank. He won't care what people are thinking, right? But he has lost credibility, and I want to go back to the Ngannou fight, right? Because I was very vocal about that fight, as a lot of people like to remind me. I said Tyson will blow Francis away. He will play with him. He'll destroy him. It's an easy fight for him. And then after the fight, I said he wasn't in shape. You know, a few sparring partners came out and said he wasn't in shape. His dad said it was absolute circus, the training camp. It was just horrendous. It was just a joke of a camp, right? And that's really giving the guy a pass. You know, he's a world heavyweight champion. He's getting paid millions and millions of pounds. And you can't turn up in fucking shape for a fight, right? So we gave him a pass on that. But when you're looking back now, and hindsight's a beautiful thing, right? And I said this before the fight. There was no need for that fight to happen. The Usyk fight was there. We had it in our hands. It was in December. Why have a fight 6-7 weeks before against someone who's an MMA fighter? Right? It's not like it's someone who's preparing you for Usyk. It's a southpaw. It's a fighter with a low sense of gravity. He's going to come at you with different angles. It was just a cash grab. But when you do look back now, was that the excuse for the December fight not to happen? Was it? Because it was ready-made, wasn't it? Well, I've just had a fight, something's happened, I've got a cut, I've had an injury, it was a tough fight. That fight shouldn't have been allowed to happen in the Ngannou fight. There was no need for it. The only people who benefited was Tyson Fury and his bank manager. And Francis, God bless him. And listen, I'm glad he got paid, right? And he ended up being a good fight in the end. But there was no need for that to happen before the undisputed fight. No need whatsoever. There was no need for it to happen. The promoters shouldn't have allowed it. Saudi Arabia shouldn't have allowed it. There was no need. We had the Usyk fight there. But was it a ready-made excuse? Well, no. I've had a fight 6-7 weeks before, so it can't be December. Now it's February. The thing that's very damning, and I've said this before, is an interview with Boxing Social and John Fury, Tyson Fury's dad. 18th of December. All right, so it's only a few weeks back. If you watch that interview, John Fury likes to make it a little bit about himself, and people love him or hate him. I like him. He can get a bit annoying at times, but you know, I enjoy listening to John Fury. But he's been incredibly honest in this, and he's basically saying Tyson Fury, if he comes in with the same mindset as the Ngannou fight and the same team, it ain't going to work against Usyk. And he was saying the camp's a joke. He said the trainer's not up to it, the strength and conditioner's not up to it. And he actually said, and I quote, what he needs is time to recondition his body. He needs a 6-month program to get his body right, let alone to train and box. This is his own dad. So his own dad is saying he's not going to be ready in February. He needs 6 months, right, to get in shape. And there was more stuff in that interview. Go and watch it, and you'll understand. And this is his son, you know. And I've hats off to John Fury for being incredibly honest. There's no smoke without fire, right? I don't want to sit here and say Tyson Fury deliberately cut himself, right? Because I don't believe that to be the case. You know, there's millions of pounds on the line, and people can say, well, he's in shape to fight. Of course he was ready to fight. Anyone can be in shape to fight. You're training. You're going to lose weight. If you look at fighters who have been shot in the past and who have retired, they've always come into the fight incredibly fit, you know, so looking lean and trimmed doesn't mean anything. It's how he's performing in the ring, right? And we've all heard the sparring stories. Jaya Pattaya, he got drafted in. The next minute he's off. Okay, fine, right? But then why stories coming out that he got dropped, he got dealt with? Johnny Nelson is adamant that Tyson was getting done in sparring, right? You don't hear sparring stories from Usyk's team. You don't. You don't hear it. You don't hear anything. They are militant, right? They have a target, they have a goal, and they have a mission, and they do everything they can to complete that mission. You don't hear these stories coming from his team. So why were they coming out of Tyson's team, and all of a sudden, the fight's off? Now, if you look at the footage, first thing people are saying is, why is it so grainy? Now, people are saying, why is it recorded in the first place? Listen, sparring is recorded regularly, right? And it doesn't matter if you're a world champion or you're having your first few fights. People want the coach and fighter want to review that and look at the mistakes and get the game plan right? So it's very normal for sparring footage to be filmed. But why is it so grainy? And why is there only a few seconds of it? Why don't you see the aftermath of it? You know, I'm not saying it's staged or anything like that, but if you actually look at it there, and it's slowed down. It's a left hook that catches him. Was it an elbow he's saying? I don't know. They're saying it's an elbow, but it's hard to see if it was a left hook or an elbow. It looks like it's a left hand, and his legs sort of dip. You know what? It looked like he felt that. So it happens in sparring. You know, you're fighting southpaws. It can happen, but why aren't you wearing a full head guard? This is 2 weeks before the biggest fight of your life. You're getting millions. You'd be wearing a fucking metal bloody helmet if you could. Do you know what I mean? But you should wear the full thing. I don't know. Right? I'm not saying it's staged or anything like that. But what I'm saying is, there's been rumours of him not performing in sparring. You know, his confidence would have been shot after the Ngannou fight. The December fight was pulled, right? Okay. February, you know, was that enough time after the Ngannou fight? I said it's not enough time to beat someone like Usyk. You can get away with it against Dillian Whyte, Derek Chisora, or Deontay Wilder, but as I've always said, Usyk is a special fighter, a generational talent, right? And I've been consistent with this. I've said it for the last 2 years. That Usyk's style is an absolute nightmare for Tyson. Nightmare. And you get people saying, oh, he's a middleweight and Tyson's too big and too strong. Like, it's just nonsense. I've said, look at my videos. I've explained it. I've always said Tyson has never fancied the fight. He knows it's an incredibly difficult fight. I've always said this, right? People think that it's an easy fight. It's just nonsense, right? Nonsense. But I'm not, as I say, I'm not sitting there and saying he staged it. But as I keep saying, is there smoke without fire? You know, with Tyson, even if you're his biggest fan, it's like you always have to defend the guy. There was pullouts with, was it Alexander Usyk? Something happened. Was it the day before the fight? No rumours going around that, you know, Usyk was a tall, you know, really big guy, and that fight suddenly got called off there. I think it was a day before. And there's stories with Tyson. There's always stories. There's always things going on, right? And listen, I ain't part of the team. I don't know, right? All I know is that I don't believe anything that Tyson and his team says, to be quite honest with you. And that's just my opinion. I don't. And that's just born out of the constant contradictions. Will we see the fight? The cut's bad. Very, very bad, that cut. You know, I put this on my social media that it could be the Khabib and Tony of boxing. If you're not an MMA fan, Khabib and Tony Ferguson were meant to fight. That was like the fight of their time. This was 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. They were the best two lightweights. That was the fight, and it got called off like 5 times. Someone tripped over wires. There was injuries. It was just COVID. Just kept getting postponed, and it never happened. This could happen again. It could get rescheduled for next October, for July, August, and Fury could get cut again. Or Usyk might get an injury. The fight was there in December. It was there. It was signed. It was done. There was no need for Tyson Fury to fight Francis Ngannou. No need for it, right? And he had his excuse. You gave Tyson Fury the keys to the cookie jar, and he took it. He ate those cookies, right? I don't know if we see it. I don't know. Who knows with Tyson? He could retire. An injury could come up. Could have personal problems. Who knows? Right? I'm not convinced we see it. I'm really not. I just feel that I don't know. What can you say? It's just disappointment. It's still, everyone's the same. Everyone is incredibly disappointed. But as I say, you can't really sit here and go, Tyson staged it and all that. I'm not going to say that. Right, because Tyson's a fighter. I think I don't believe he staged that cut. But what I do think is that his confidence is shot, right? And I do think he's not been performing in sparring, right? That's what I do think, and I do think he knows Usyk's an incredibly hard challenge, and the Tyson that rocked up against Ngannou isn't going to be enough against someone like Usyk. That's what I do believe. And when you put all of those ingredients into the melting pot, you're left with a stew, aren't you? You're not left with an apple pie. It's made a stew, and you're going to eat it. It's just, but we're not surprised, are we? That's the incredibly disappointing thing about this. No one is surprised. So many people said this was going to happen, and I said, of course it's going to happen. Of course it's going to happen. There's too much money involved. Tyson is going to turn up for this fight, and he's not done. And you can say it happens, and it happens all the time, and you can have sympathy for Tyson. Okay, yeah, you can, but you always have sympathy for the fighter, for the opponent when a fighter pulls out, no matter what the reason is. And when you look back to the December fight, that wasn't Usyk's fault, right? That fight was signed, ready to go. That's not his fault. That was Tyson and his team and the promoter's fault for letting that fight happen with Ngannou. Everyone knows anything can happen in boxing. You can trip up when you get into the ring. You can do your back in. You can get an injury. You can get a cut. You can have a head clash. Anything can happen. So there was no need for that fight to happen. And he allowed it to happen. And guess what? We're sat here now, months later, and we're not getting a Usyk fight. We didn't get it in December, and we're not getting it in February. So, what do you want me to say? Where does Tyson Fury go from here? Look, he's always going to make money. He's an engaging character. There's always going to be money thrown at him, and he'll take the easiest money that he can get at this stage of his career. So I don't know what he's going to do. Maybe he'll have exhibition fights. Maybe he'll come back and maybe we'll see the Usyk fight. I'm not confident we see it, to be quite honest with you. I feel for Usyk because this guy just wants to be undisputed. That's it. He just wants to be undisputed, right? He fights. He's fought Joshua, right? He's fought Dubois. He fights his mandatories. He's not fighting exhibition fights. He just wants to fight. Right, let me know your thoughts, and I want you to be completely honest about the whole situation. Do you believe what's gone on? Do you believe it's a legitimate cut? Do you think it's absurd to question that it wasn't a legit cut? Do you think you'll see Tyson Fury and Usyk fight? Like, comment, subscribe, let me know.